This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world. We begin today's show with the story of 4 American Muslims who say they were placed on the U.S. no-fly list by the FBI after they refused to become government informants. They say they were barred from flying not because they were accused of any crime, but because they refused government requests to spy on their own communities. On Tuesday night, the men filed a lawsuit seeking their removal from the no-fly list, as well as a new legal mechanism to challenge placement on it. The New York Times reports the list, officially called the Terrorist Screening Database, has grown to at least 700,000 people. The government refuses to reveal who is on the list, how one can get off it, and what criteria are used to place someone on it in the first place.
Well, for more, we're joined by Naveed Shinwari, one of the 4 American Muslims filing a lawsuit accusing the FBI of unjustly placing them on the no-fly list and trying to coerce them to spy on their community. Also with us, Shana Kadidal, senior managing attorney at the Center for Constitutional Rights. CCR is representing the 4 men, along with the City University of New York's Creating Law Enforcement Accountability and Responsibility Program, or CLEAR. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Naveed, let's begin with you. Tell us your story. What happened?
Thank you, first of all, for having us. I've been a big fan of the show since college days. Well, in October 2011, I went on a Hajj pilgrimage, religious pilgrimage with my mother. And after that, we went to Afghanistan, and that's where I got married to. On the way coming back, late February of 2012, I was trying to obtain a boarding pass in Dubai. My flight was from Kabul to Dubai and then to Houston. And I was denied boarding pass in Dubai. I was told that I have to go outside and meet with the U.S. immigrations or the embassy consulate. I had to obtain a temporary visa, and my mother and I, we went out of the airport. Then I was interrogated by 2 FBI agents for roughly about 4 hours. And I was told I was pressured to give them everything that I knew in order to go back home. And the more that I give them, the better chances of me coming back home that I had. I was told to take a lie detector test, and they wanted to take photos with their phone of mine, and which both of them I refused because I was very truthful to them from the beginning. Finally, after 5 days, we had to buy new tickets, and we were able to come to the U.S. Then I was interrogated at the airport in Washington by a couple of FBI agents. And then I had several visits in my house. In March of 2012, I found out that I was on a no-fly list when I had a flight to Orlando for a job. And in the airport, I was escorted by police officers telling me that I could not fly anymore. That's the first time I found out.
When you say they interrogated you the first time around, what kinds of questions were they asking you?
They told me that tell us everything, and where did you been, where have you been, and have you attended any training camps in Afghanistan, or even to Pakistan, and to all of those questions my answer was negative. If you met individuals that pose a threat to national security, and my answer was negative, of course.
What are your feelings about being on the no-fly list? How has it affected your life? Where is your wife now, by the way?
She's in Afghanistan, and it's been 26 months, counting, that I have not seen her.
For more than 2 years?
That's correct. I spent a month with her, and then I had to leave, and then ever since I haven't been able to go back.
Shana Kadidal, what is the legality of this?
Well, I think it's completely illegal. You know, most people find out that they're on the list the same way Naveed did. They try to fly, and then they're denied boarding, and sometimes the gate agent will tell them, well, you're on this list. Now, there's a process to challenge it nominally through the Department of Homeland Security, but when you file a complaint, you never get told whether or not you're on the list or whether you've been removed from the list. The government never tells us what the criteria for being on the list is. We think it has something to do with whether you're a threat to civil aviation, whatever that means, but they've never sort of published a definition, and they never tell you what evidence you know, they've used to put you on there, right? And a lot of times I don't think the government knows what evidence they've used to put you on there, because a field-level FBI agent, for all practical purposes, can nominate someone like Naveed. Those guys who interviewed him in Dubai could do it on their own discretion, just as if a New York City beat cop could put you on the no-fly list. And it's basically a rubber stamp, the level of review that it gets once it goes into the terrorist screening center that runs the list. So, you know, you get this situation that's ripe for abuse. And Naveed, like our other clients, you know, I think the FBI put him on the list basically because they knew there was no process where you could challenge it, where you could get off, other than coming to court like we have now. And therefore, they could use it very effectively to twist their arms to work and spy on completely innocent members of their Muslim community.
Right, and this issue of some of your clients being asked to spy on their communities, could you elaborate on that?
Sure. Well, so you see, Naveed, you know, answered all those questions negatively and still ended up on the list, right? They are asking people not to spy on friends and family and acquaintances who the government suspects of involvement in crime or terrorism. They're asking them to trawl the Muslim community for information. You know, it's the same mentality as underlies the NSA surveillance programs, right? Gather every bit of information on civil society, and then we'll figure out why we wanted it later.
Aviation security specialist Glenn Wynn told San Diego news station 6 that people are not put on the no-fly list arbitrarily.
There's something has arisen in this background and has restricted his movement on a U.S. carrier out of the United States, i.e. a threat.
Shana Condadel, your response?
I mean, I think, you know, the most obvious response to that is to look at the Rahini Ibrahim case that was just litigated out on the West Coast, where the government for 8 years fought, you know, invoking every secrecy doctrine you can imagine to resist telling a former Stanford PhD student whether or not she was on the list. It turned out they had accidentally put her on the list because an FBI agent had kind of incompetently checked the yes box instead of not checking it, as he intended to. They took her off the list in 2005, and yet they fought for 8 years in court to avoid having to tell her that and to really avoid telling the public that they made a spectacular mistake.
Well,